Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Lang Mini Studios, and Chase, better known as Kilk, as we talk about Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop gaming. So, welcome everybody. With our campaign kind of winding on the backside, as well as Chase showing me several threads on Reddit, and lots of kind of controversy online a lot lately. I feel a lot of this can be boiled down to just a good session zero, starting out the campaign and explaining what per tale your game is going to be like, what they can expect, why you can't just jump into the adventure. If you're running a short adventure or maybe only a limited series, maybe you guys can just jump right in there. But if you're running a longer form campaign that lasts months, if not years, let's break down why you shouldn't jump in. I know you and me, Chase, were talking about the recording about RPG horror stories and all the things that you kind of been showing me at work. I just feel 99% of that can be down to just a mismatch of expectations at the table, let alone some of the controversy that, is facing. We recently had on a more recent episode about D&D drama with colonialism, or those kind of triggers for the people that have triggers. Not everyone does, but there are a majority, or maybe not even a majority, that do. I really just feel a good session zero can solve 98, 99% of all this. We've talked about this more than enough on the podcast several times before. I'm sure you guys all agree on this.
Oh, yeah.
Before you even start rolling the dice, filling out on any part of the character sheet, session zero should make sure that everyone's on the same page. That way you can talk about campaign setting, player expectations, house rules, character creation guidelines, safety tools, if you need them. There's a couple of good safety tools out there, and I do admit they're nice. For our table, I don't think they're needed, but we're all friends here. Sometimes some people just need those boundaries, especially in more public settings, or maybe on an online game where you don't know the person that you're playing with. Or we'll go into preferred playstyle, combat versus roleplay, and how the group will handle kind of sensitive topics and ensuring everyone just feels comfortable at the table, because that's what matters.
Yeah.
Is that comfort level, but at the same time, having fun. Fun should be the number one thing.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, why are we doing that? Yeah.
And I think, Chase, you were just talking about was if you're playing kind of that stereotypical erotic fantasy, it's jumping into maybe the things like some people were talking against colonialism or slavery. Well, we want to jump into those. Sometimes some people want to fight those type of things because you can't in real life, correct?
Yeah. This goes along with the idea of just living in a world that you don't live in, right? Being able to create stories that you find enjoyable and not. And yes, there are going to be negative things in D&D, right? There just is. Half of D&D is murdering things. Let's be real. So you're gonna have racism, and you're gonna have slavery, and you're gonna have class style societies, right? And feudalisms, and thank you. And just all of these bad things that we talk about in the world, they can exist in D&D because now you can create your characters to be able to go fight them and destroy them. And I understand why people get upset about some things on that side, but go make your characters destroy those things. That's what we're here for. Where most people play their D&D worlds to make those worlds a better place in some way, shape, or form, right? You're going to kill Vecna. Hey, you're making the world a better place, probably.
You make a lot of worlds a better place without him. If you read his lore, he dimension hops and goes from he can show up in Eberron if he wanted to. He can be in Greyhawk. He can be in Forgotten Realms. He can do that. That's what's kind of terrifying.
Ruined book, despite all its major flaws, that we won't get into that, but you multiverse hop in that to all the published settings. You go to Greyhawk, you go to Eberron, you go to Dragonlance.
So yeah, with Vecna, yeah, you're probably making a bunch of different places better. We're talking about the everything that you mentioned, I just had a thought like kind of enter my mind. Do you think the character Drizzt would be as popular if he was made today rather than 20, 25, 30 years ago?
No, I think part of that, without getting too far off topic,
yeah, exactly. I mean, sorry to derail, but
they are, instead of making in Forgotten Realms setting the Underdark less inherently evil, and that's what made him stood out initially, was he was the good guy in an inherently evil society.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just, looking at everything today, I just kind of wonder, would he be as popular today as he was back then? Just kind of, and
probably not.
And that's kind of sad because
right, too much creativity out there.
Yeah, however you feel about the character, you still have to admit that he's one of the defining characters of D&D in our generation.
Yeah, for sure.
Him and Elminster are two of the big names when it came to getting D&D out there in the written word, in the books.
Greenwood's wizard, Elminster.
Yeah. So that guy had his own problems. I mean, the goddess of
Yeah, he was far from a perfect paragon of anything.
Yeah, the goddess of magic got so mad at him one time that he made him live his life as a woman for years, I believe, so that he could learn, hey, stop being a dick.
Especially to women.
Yeah, especially to women. So yeah, it's like, hey, okay, fine. If this is how you really feel, guess what? You're a woman now. Deal with it because you're a dick. Yeah, he became. Now, was he a better person after it? Yes. Was he perfect? No. But none of us are. So, but he learned his lesson. He was like, I was being a jerk, and that, I need to change my ways. I like that. So, talking about your safety tools and your boundaries, you running into sexist or racist or speciest characters, it is. I'm not going to say it's hard baked into D&D, but it is an option there for a thing to fight against, because I believe a vast majority of people deep down don't believe in that. They don't want that to exist. So
I think that should be the first thing you ask when you're sitting down, like I was mentioning, before you fill out the character sheets, before you roll stats or anything. One of the first things a game master should ask each of the players is, what does fun look like to you with this game?
Absolutely.
And what does fun not look like as well? Because is there some hard lines or some veils if you don't know the person? I've known Brent a better part of a decade. I've known Tove a better part of a decade. I've known Chase almost now 5 to 6 years. I know my best friend, Vicky. I've known her a little bit longer, a little bit shorter than that, I should say, because she came and sat down at our game with Kilk, and when you guys first started kind of seeing each other.
Oh, okay. Kind of like
she did. She came in and hung out with us one night. Right.
Yeah, she just wanted to come and watch.
Nick was there for that too.
Yes, he was. But I kind of know what the hard lines and the veils and all that with them. Now, if you're in a public setting, I should say, not a campaign setting, where you don't know their veils, then those safety tools are going to be very prevalent.
Yeah.
If you're in a convention game, usually most people will put in the game description, hey, trigger warning. Usually, this adventure has spiders or deals with these themes.
Yeah.
If those trigger you, do not sign up for that game, obviously. Because if you go to that type of game and tell the GM, hey, I have problems with this, they're just going to tell you, well, this is a convention game, so you might not want to be part of this game.
Like, why did you sign up if you knew that, like, if you do have arachnophobia, don't play something that involves, drow, because they worship
spiders.
Loth the Spider Queen, and there's probably going to run into a Drider or giant spiders or anything like that. Maybe don't go into that, just for your own enjoyment, and also for you don't step on the enjoyment of everybody else.
Like we were talking before we were recording, Chase in preference, he's more mechanically in combat favored. Joshua will be joining us. Maybe he'll eventually join us on the podcast even.
That'd be cool, yeah.
That'd be very cool. He is more mechanically in combat from the times we've played Fallout together. Tove is more role play. I think Vicky's 75% role play, like 25% combat. I think she likes combat, if she isn't too tired.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, her job is, yeah. Well,
a lot of that stems from just the jobs that we do, right?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
long we're at work and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Can't
Or
wait.
just the stress of basically the last year.
Yeah, exactly. Just real life stuff. Yeah, that kicks everybody.
The other thing I do want to bring up, because us in particular, Chase, when this campaign in particular, the one we've been talking about the last year on this podcast, when we first started it 3 years ago, it got off to a faulty start those first couple sessions because there was a miscommunication about setting expectations for absences or expectations of schedules.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody except for one player was okay with playing every other week, but the other player was more in the mind of, I kind of only want to play, maybe once a month or once every other month, because that person valued, their family time a lot more, and rightfully so, because they had a younger daughter. And we all understood it, and I kind of just had to I kind of want to play more than that, so I might have to step away because I'm the one running the game.
Yep.
Right.
So we had to put it on hold, and then about a month later, we got a hold of Brent and Tove. So the thing I'd ask even with that, if you're sitting down after you figure out what the expectations of fun are, is will the GM, if you guys have enough players to do so, by all means, will a GM play a missing character?
Mm-hmm.
Or will they just fade into the background? Is there a limit how many sessions a player can reach before their, player kind of wanders off?
They spider out and skitter off.
With us, after 2 or 3 sessions of missing, their character disappeared for a while until they decided to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they were possessed by a ghost or were a were spider. With our campaign.
Oh man, there was every time, because he was a gunslinger.
Yes.
And gunslinger being a were spider. I don't know if you guys remember this, but do you remember the movie American Tail?
Yeah.
With the mice and everything that came from Russia and stuff.
I know which character exactly.
They had a sequel, and it was American Tail, Fievel Goes West.
Yep.
And in there, they had a cowboy spider that had 8 legs and wore cowboy boots and all of that shit. So whenever he would talk about going into spider form, I would see that. I would see a spider with cowboy boots and a cowboy hat on, and him would skitter off.
And then he played the non-webby spider. He played the wolf spider.
The wolf spider type, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which are nasty.
Oh God, yeah.
It might be kind of a controversial thought, or maybe it's just a hard reality, I guess, for some people listening. But in my opinion, game night is a social contract. It's an expectation that you're going to be there X amount of time of whatever you guys agree, whether it's once a month, weekly. Most, I think, people with personal lives and all that usually end up playing bi-weekly, and that's usually, I think, 80% of games. So twice, maybe 3 times a month, depending upon which month you're in, and if it has 3 days that, or 3
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks
you
where you
that
play.
as you've got 5 weekends in the month or whatever. Yeah.
If for fact you come to a session 0 and your social life or your normal life away from the table is going to conflict with that, but you still agree, I'm going to kind of call BS on that, because as well that you're not going to be able to make it. And if you have a smaller group that's unable to play without you, and then you're not able to, that's kind of a very selfish thing to pull on that group, when they should just be searching for another player that should be able to play more regularly, when you can just openly say, I can only play part of the time.
Yeah.
If you if you purposely you can't adhere to a schedule or continue to play and just continue to delay the game night in these circumstances because you want to play, that is selfish. I don't often use this word on this podcast, but that's being a bad player. Because you're now holding back, like I mentioned, other people's fun, and it's intentional.
Yeah, there was a time to where my work schedule changed, and I could no longer play with the group that I normally played with, and I mean, it sucked to where it was years before I could play again, and mostly that was on me. I could have went and found a different group. I could have gone to a gaming shop or whatever. I could have done something, but I didn't want to. I like the group I was with. Good, bad, and the ugly. I had fun. So them switching the night to a night that worked for them makes 100% sense, because I was one player out of 5. So me being one player and wanting to hold back the other 4, like that doesn't sit right with me. So yeah, the others, they go on, they did what was good for them, and they had their own real life things to worry about, just like I did. And if that means that I got not necessarily kicked out, but it wasn't good for me, that's how that's life. And yes, it ended up working out, and working through all of that, I still maintain contacts with the people that I wanted to maintain contact with. And yeah, like I said, it all worked out in the end. So yeah, it sucked for a couple of years when I couldn't, when I didn't play. I wouldn't say couldn't, because I could have, but didn't play. But looking back on it, like I said, it worked out. There was some drama that I wasn't involved in that I'm kind of glad that I wasn't involved in. And now I have a really good group. I enjoy all of the people I play with. And I hope they enjoy playing with me. If not, I don't want to be that guy. Say something. I'll change. But yeah, like there's that social contract to where you're there to have fun, but so are they. And you rely on them to have fun. They're also relying on you.
I'd say before we get into like the session 0 part where you're talking about characters, the other thing that you should probably be asking is just simple stuff that you don't really kind of think of, is like, is food welcome at the table?
And what types of food?
What types of food? Do you guys have allergies or dietary needs?
Yeah, like peanut allergies, or they're vegan or carnivore or whatever.
We've both played with players that had a horrible peanut allergy,
yeah, exactly.
Even if it was aerosol.
Yes. Oh, it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she just respectfully asked, can you not have any nuts at the table, basically?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, I don't want you to die. So yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a problem with alcohol? Do you have a problem with like
alcohol,
marijuana or weed or anything like that? Controlled substances, maybe definitely not the hard substances. A big one, especially in today's age. Do you have a problem with tablets or smartphones?
Yeah.
Because they can be distracting, but they are great tools for looking stuff up right away, especially now with Google kind of having the AI thing where you can just say into the phone, hey, what's the rule for this? And then it just says it.
And then there it is. And it's like cited Dungeon Master's Guide 2014 or 2024
on this page,
or, whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Here it is. Oh, here's what Jeremy Crawford has to say. Here's what this person has to say.
And it's great because even at the table, like if you're playing, and I've done this before, I'll pick up my phone and we have a circumstance where it's a gray area. And I'll go, okay, this is the rule. Does it work this way? And they're like, rules is written, no. And I'm just like, okay, then no, it doesn't work. Or rules is intended, it should, but rules is written, no. Then, depending on the situation, I might rule still in my favor. Yeah, it just depends on the situation, in my opinion, because I'm a very rule of cool DM. Do you have a game master that's not more rule of cool? Does he want to stick by, the rules a lot more? Do you have a player that's a hopefully rule, like healthy rules lawyer?
Yeah. Yeah, not the I'm going to stop everything and go, well, the rule says, okay, cool, I know what the freaking book says, we're not doing that.
The geek, or we'll say geek, I think would be the proper term, where they use their pointer finger, pull up their glasses and like, but actually.
Like, no, cool. I mean, talk to me afterwards if it's a big problem, but we're not doing that.
But that also brings up, if like a rule comes up, is there a time limit of how much rule to check it before you're like, okay, we're just moving on?
Yeah.
Unless it's like very vital.
Yeah, unless it's key to like the strategy you're using, or like the character, like a character ability or a boss or something. You need to know what you're doing, but yeah, there's a certain point in time where the DM can put their foot down and be like, no, we're doing this because it makes the most sense right now. If we find out later that it's wrong, okay, we'll change and do it that way. But right now we're doing this. We need to keep the action going. Let's not get bogged down.
That's kind of just the stuff at the table. The other thing you kind of need to ask is, what's the general tone of the game? Or even just the table, even just the players. Is the game going to be dramatic or comedic? Is it lighthearted? I think I mentioned the point, are you coming from a Mouse Guard or a Root game and then coming into Curse of Strahd? If you're expecting that lighthearted game and you're coming into Curse of Strahd, that will be a very mismatch.
Yeah, especially something with like Root being more like cutesy and stuff like that, and yeah, that and doing a hard switch to the horror themes of Curse of Strahd. Yeah, that's going to be a huge gear change, a huge shock, and if the player or players can't do that effectively, it's going to be really hard for everybody. It's going to grind a lot of gears, and there's gonna be a lot of skips and hiccups that could have maybe been avoided by being clear at the beginning.
And then a big one, everyone at our table kind of, I never even discussed this. It was, how much narrative control do the players actually have over the story? You guys have, like with our table, I know for sure they have a fair bit of narrative control. Just because I'm that experienced to be able to control that. Maybe the game master doesn't, though. Maybe he's just like, I just want to stick to this storyline, despite, like, if they're running a published campaign and they are very green game master. I just want to stick to the pages.
Yeah, and there's nothing
that's
wrong
my
with
comfort.
That. If you're a new game master and you just want to run the published setting, tell your players that we are doing Descent to Avernus. We're doing whatever. We are doing this. I am learning how. I am just trying to get experience being a DM. I'm trying to cut my teeth on this. We're doing that. We're doing this published campaign.
What's the power level of, like? Is this high fantasy?
Ooh, yeah.
Or is this low gritty? Is it Chase's son's campaign at his school where they literally give him a DeLorean and a globe?
Wait, what?
They got some crazy stuff in their campaigns. It's probably the best way to say that.
Are you talking to the DeLorean from Back to the Future?
Yeah.
They got a time
basically.
machine?
Yeah.
It was crazy. What
did that globe do?
I don't even remember, but it was so overpowered when he was showing it to me. I was like, oh my God, you guys, there's one of those like magic is abundant everywhere campaigns. Everything is overpowered.
You can unravel the weave of time and destroy everything.
Yeah, his character had the thing from Jujutsu Kaisen. He had the world stand or some time stand where he could just rewind things that happened.
Oh, whoa.
Like, it was crazy.
Back and Forth Edition gave a player that and then regretted it to where it was just like a charge mechanic to where it only had so many uses and it fizzled, to where they had the ability to, if they finished their turn, they activated this as like, I think it was a minor action instead of, in quotations, bonus action. They could redo their turn basically if they chose to do something else, just because we're all new players.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. The
like,
time
that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from like Harry Potter or whatever.
Yeah.
Time.
And it was a 6-second.
Oh, okay. So
they're all new players and they're all getting used to new things and.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was not meant to be like a long-term campaign or anything like that.
Go nuts. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's also people that might have like group, or there might be people that have problems if a DM likes to monologue his descriptions into Robert Jordan or Tolkien-like proportions, because I cannot lie, like the Wheel of Time, the first 40 pages where half a page is a description of stains on a table, really threw me out of it.
Skip a few pages, brother.
You're not the only one that has that issue with those books.
I know I'm not.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
We've talked about it on this particular podcast a couple of times because we almost came down to it. Thank God we have emotionally mature players. Is PvP okay?
Oh, yeah.
Or is there a situation like I just mentioned? Is there a situation that can be retconned? Can things even be retconned in your thing? Or do you have to live by what happened?
Ooh, yeah.
I'm honestly generally a fan of live by what happens, as long as the choices were all made in good faith, right?
The only time I'm okay with retconning is if a player in particular, I forgot, I literally have this in my hand. If this would not have if I was fully thinking about what my character would do, basically X, Y, or Z in my hand that would stop me from going forward with this decision, can I go back 5 minutes here and undo that? Then usually I'm okay. But most of the time I'm like, no, you gotta stick by what you just said. You just said this to this person, and that will be a lesson learned.
Right.
I'm pretty much, with me, when it comes to retconning, if you like, I like your idea, like you literally have this in your hand. If a player legitimately forgot one of their abilities or an item in their inventory, and it could stop a character from dying, okay, I'll allow that to be retconned. When the DM asks, okay, cool, you got your action figured out? That's what you're gonna do? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, unless
it's the equivalent of taking your hand off the piece in chess.
Yeah, exactly. You have taken your hand off the piece in chess. Unless it literally involves a player character dying, I generally don't want to retcon that. Because, oh no, I realize that it's going to split the world in half. Well, yeah, duh. That's why you shouldn't have done it, but you said you did, so live with the consequences?
To be fair, crazy things. Like imagine, for instance, Nathan, if your player a session later wanted to go back and be like, oh, well, I didn't really know that that's what was going to happen if Loki got freed.
Sorry, no.
Yeah, no.
So, and I understand that I broke a lot of things and I derailed a lot of things. Can we just go back to that? There's also a point where you just can't go back, right? And if the story has moved forward a little bit, you just can't go back.
Yeah, especially if the story has moved on, yeah. Because of certain actions, yes.
But that happens in real life as well. If I had only known this, I wouldn't have done
that.
Exactly.
It's like, well, yeah, that's true, but...
we use Brent for an example. If you and me are in the workplace and I say something that's normally not considered offensive.
Yeah.
But because, X, Y, or Z happened to you previously in your, has happened to you, you found it offensive and you just walk off and you look pissed, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Then, is it my fault? No, because you're
not a mind reader. Yeah.
But then you find out after the fact, well, I wouldn't have said that then. Can we retcon that? No, because it's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened, but you could still, in that situation, you can still be an adult and hey, look, I didn't mean it that way because I didn't know this. Okay, cool, be an adult about it, and move on. But that's a real world, that's a real life thing.
That's a real life thing.
Yeah.
And that's in a role play situation.
Exactly.
For game masters that are listening to this, your biggest shield that I'd say during combat for anyone to argue against, if I would have, I should have done this on my turn, can we go back? The biggest question you can ask at the end of anyone's turn is is that all you're going to do? Or not, I don't even think I say it like that. It's how have I worded it to you, Brent? When I know personally that you're missing something.
Yeah, you're like, anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything else or anything else?
To where, and usually it's like my Hexblade's Curse or something.
Yes.
It just sits there and I'm like, I think I've used that 3 times the entire campaign just because I even made a chip that has Hexblade's Curse written on it, and it's right in front of me, and I still forget the dang thing.
I usually ask, do you want to do anything else?
Yeah,
or is that it?
Yeah, Nate asked me that 2 or 3 times a session.
I usually ask everybody that way. If they try and pull the rewind button, I'm like, no, I asked you if that was it.
Yeah,
you said so. Yeah. I'm like, unfortunately, you've played this long enough. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a newer player, I might be a little bit more. If it was Rama at the beginning of this campaign, I didn't know if this is how that worked. Okay, we'll rewind it this time this time.
Yeah, retconning things that don't make any difference to the world is fine, I think. As long as the story is not being changed. That's what really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we play a game, right, where a lot of the decisions are made based off of the roll of a dice. So trying to like min-max your decisions and retconning your decisions is just doesn't make sense. Because you could just roll a d20 and then maybe the roll just didn't go your way.
And then you could be the exact same situation the next day, and it goes your way because the dice happened to land a millimeter a different angle, and it went to a different number. So, yeah.
And it's highly realistic, in my opinion, as well, because there's some days things go in your way, and other days they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.